Here's a segment from a recent Gun Talk radio episode. You can listen to all the Gun Talk radio podcasts however you tune in, or check out guntalk.com for more. Okay, so I'm having this conversation with my buddy. He's doing this shoot, and then he says, well, you know, my wife didn't have a belt. And I remember we had a lady who came to do a first-person defender show, and she had on like the, I don't know, I guess you call them yoga pants. Mm-hmm. And there's no belt loops in those things. It's just a little stretchy thing.
Oh, nope. What there is in those things.
There's hardly anything, you know. And we're trying to figure out how are we going to equip her with a gun for this scenario, which in the end, it didn't much matter because, I mean, this guy was basically mauling her and she had her gun out, limp wristing it. And finally, we were saying, shoot him for heaven's sakes. But it's like she never did the buy-in of taking care of herself. So it was, yeah. But, you know, look, the world needs victims too. So there's that.
Yep. There's not everybody will fight when they can't flight.
Right. So, but this call reminded me of that and Michelle, this is kind of more, and you know, you can comment on that, but there's a lot of women's fashion and clothes that there's literally no way to carry a gun like that.
That's what makes it so difficult. Yes. And then the other thing is we have to get over the fact that if we decide to actually wear a pair of regular blue jeans, I'm going to say regular blue jeans, we have to go up a size. What?
I'm not doing that.
All right. No,
or at least go with outside the waistband. You know,
but it's true. It does limit us in many ways because of that. You know, the fashion that is accepted, or if you want to be accepted, I guess, for some people, you know, to fall into place, you don't have the accommodations for a belt.
Even a belly band, which is kind of cool, and it can overcome some of those objections. It still doesn't work with every fashion.
Well, you're going to have to have a fairly loose-fitting top if you're going to wear a belly band.
Right.
You know, so you got that.
And even then,
the downside to that is what for us?
Well, you know, but if a woman wants to wear something that's fashionable,
form-fitting, you're not going to do
probably going to have to make more changes to her wardrobe than a guy does. Because I mean, guys do have to make some changes.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a whole different deal. It's like your look changes, and you know, you make a good point. If you're going to wear blue jeans, all of a sudden you're dressing completely differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which leads them to the purse carry, which leads them to, you know, the challenges of that.
Right. Right. And even with the belly band, I mean, that's not just something that's sitting there midriff typically. You're going to pull the pants up over it, mostly at least, you know, halfway through it. Yeah. And so, you know, you've got limitations with being able to access it easily, quickly. I mean, that's a lot of practice. That's a lot of practice.
And then now you go to a shooting range where you're going to take a class. You're going to have to wear a belt. You're going to have to wear a holster because they're not going to let you wear some rig like that.
Well,
to teach you.
Right, and there's no retention to be able to get that back into it quickly. That's not going to happen. It's just a little sleeve. Right.
Yeah, right. And the reholstering, as we know only too well, is the iffy part of the whole deal, the more dangerous part if you're not very careful.
Right.
And so that's where having a good holster, and frankly, for the most part, an outside the waistband holster as opposed to an inside the waistband holster is easier for reholstering. So for range work, generally, at least the initial phases, I would recommend getting an OWB holster.
Yeah.
The nice thing about wearing those types of pants or that style of pants is obviously you can wear a belt on the outside of that. Most of the time, if you're doing a lot of range work, your shirt's going to be tucked in. But it is nice because nothing gets snagged with that, you know.
So you know, when you've got like the close-fitting spandex yoga pant thing, but they don't have belt loops, right?
Some of them do, but you're getting pretty high. I like 511, for instance. They make some that have belt loops in them.
Okay, I didn't know that they had that kind of pants.
Yeah.
Well, I just they you know, when I do my shopping there, they don't show up on my page, so I just, you know, how about that? Because nobody would want to see me in those.
Especially in the yoga pants. What a visual.
But you know, there's lots of issues. I mean, there's several with women trying to get them into holsters with how the length of the torso and length of the, you know, just the hip ratio, I guess, to however they're built. I don't want to I stumble over my words here. Sorry.
Women have hips.
Yes, women. Yes, and it's more difficult. But on the other side of that, I've also tried to help men get into a holster where if there's any sort of a belly, it pushes holsters over. Which becomes an issue. So, it's really taking a lot of time and finding what works
for that person.
There are holsters.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it's. There are holsters that it's not a cant, but they've got it actually sits off from the belt a little bit for women specifically. I can't remember the setup on those. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like Alien Gear does a lot. Tactica,
got the spacers. You can increase that. Yeah.
Tactica line. There's a lot of holsters. Actually, a lot of clothing in the Tactica line too. But yeah, I mean, you really do have to spend your time because the problem is this, right? Most of the holsters that you would buy, Tom, are going to be way too big for my body. So they make some that are much smaller in size for women. Fits the same gun, but it's just not as thickly built or as tall.
And, and toward that end, I would like something that is not as thick and not as tall because I want the slimmest, trimmest holster that I can get just because it's, less to deal with, frankly.
Right.
Yeah, it is one of the reasons that I kind of like Hydex for that because it's a little bit thinner than leather generally.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why a lot of people end up going to pocket carry, which then you're actually having to bend over in some way to be able to access the pistol.
And good luck trying to get that out when you're seated.
Right.
Or moving. If you're trying to run and draw at the same time, you got lots of luck with that.
I mean, there's lots of things to take into consideration. You don't just go to the store and be like, yeah, that one.
That's why I've switched over to the Smart Carry with my 50 AE Desert Eagle.
Just shove it down in your pants, man.
Yeah.
Get a lot of
getting a lot of looks.
Got of looks. I was going there, but I just wasn't sure exactly how to do it. But there it is.
And then he's in his yoga pants.
Oh my God.
You can get arrested doing that.
6.5 years was a long run.
Yeah. How'd Jim get on that sex offender list? I don't know.
Just said take a peek.
But it's a lot to take into consideration. It's difficult. We've talked about that too. You spend a lot of money throwing different holsters around, and winter to summer is different carrying too.
Yeah. No, it's a good point.